The moment Nadia saw her husband's face in that photograph, smiling wider than he had smiled at her in years, she knew her marriage was over. He stood on white sand with turquoise water behind him, his arm around a blonde woman in a red bikini. The woman was laughing, her head tilted back, her hand resting on Trevor's bare chest. They looked like magazine models advertising a perfect vacation. A perfect life. A life that didn't include Nadia. She sat on the edge of their bed holding Trevor's tablet. Her hands didn't shake. Her heart didn't race. She felt oddly calm, like she was watching someone else's life fall apart instead of her own. The photo had popped up when she grabbed the tablet to check her email. Trevor had left it charging on the nightstand and she thought nothing of using it. They shared everything. At least she thought they had. Nadia swiped to the next photo. Trevor and the blonde woman at a beach bar, tropical drinks in hand. Another photo showed them on a boat, the sunset painting the sky orange and pink behind them. There were at least 50 photos from the trip. She recognized the resort from the distinctive thatched roof cabanas in the background. It was the same place she had suggested for their 10th anniversary. Trevor had said it was too expensive. She opened his messages. The text between Trevor and someone named Bethany went back 6 months. 6 months of good morning texts, late-night conversations, and plans to meet. The messages were explicit enough to make Nadia's stomach turn. She scrolled through them mechanically, her mind cataloging every detail. "Can't wait to have you all to myself for a whole week," Bethany had written 2 months ago. "Told her I have a work conference," Trevor had replied. "She'll never know." Nadia remembered that week. She had stayed home alone, eaten dinner by herself every night, and believed her husband was in Chicago for business. She had been so proud of him for landing that big account. She had even sent him encouraging texts, telling him how much she believed in him. She set the tablet down and walked to Trevor's closet. His suitcase sat on the top shelf, the same one he had taken to Chicago. She pulled it down and unzipped it. Inside she found a folded resort brochure, a pair of swim trunks she had never seen, and a receipt from a jewelry store. The receipt showed a purchase for a woman's bracelet. Trevor had never bought her jewelry. He always said it was a waste of money. Nadia sat on the closet floor, the receipt in her hand. She thought about the past year. Trevor had been distant, always on his phone, working late more often. She had noticed, but she had trusted him. She had believed him when he said work was stressful. She had believed him when he said he was tired. She had made excuses for him, convinced herself that every marriage went through rough patches. The front door opened downstairs. Trevor was home from work. "Nadia? You here?" His voice echoed through the house. She stood up, smoothed her blue dress and walked downstairs. Trevor stood in the kitchen loosening his tie. He smiled when he saw her. "Hey babe, how was your day?" He walked over and kissed her cheek like he did every evening. Nadia looked at his face. The same face she had woken up next to for 10 years. The same face that had promised to love her forever. She felt nothing. No anger, no sadness, just a strange emptiness where her feelings used to be. "It was fine," she said. "How was yours?" "Long. I'm exhausted." Trevor grabbed a beer from the refrigerator and sat at the kitchen table. "What's for dinner?" "I haven't started yet. I got home late." "No problem. We can order something." Nadia watched him scroll through his phone, probably texting Bethany while sitting right in front of her. She wondered how many times he had done this. How many times he had messaged another woman while Nadia cooked dinner, folded his laundry, planned their life together. "Trevor," she said. "Oh?" He didn't look up from his phone. "Do you have any trips coming up for work?" "Not right now." "Why?" "Just curious." He finally looked at her and for a second she saw something flicker in his eyes. Guilt maybe. Or fear. But it was gone as quickly as it appeared. "You feeling okay?" "You look tired," he said. "I'm fine. Just thinking about things." "What things?" "Life. Or the future." Trevor nodded and went back to his phone. He wasn't worried. He thought he was safe. He thought Nadia was the same woman who had believed every lie, who had never questioned him, who had been too trusting to see what was right in front of her. But that woman was gone. Nadia excused herself and went upstairs to their home office. She opened her laptop and started making notes. She needed to think clearly, plan carefully. She wasn't going to cry or scream or throw things. She wasn't going to beg him to stay or try to fix their broken marriage. She was going to leave and she was going to do it on her own terms. She opened a new browser window and searched for divorce attorneys. She made a list of the best-rated ones in the city. Then she opened her banking app and checked their accounts. They had a joint savings account with $30,000, money they had been saving for their anniversary trip that would never happen. She had her own checking account from before they got married, but she rarely used it. Tomorrow she would change that. Nadia spent 3 hours at the computer planning every detail. She looked up apartments in different neighborhoods. She calculated how much money she would need for a security deposit and first month's rent. She reviewed her client list and figured out how much income she could count on from her freelance marketing work. She made spreadsheets and timelines. By the time she finished, it was past midnight. Trevor had fallen asleep on the couch watching television. Nadia walked past him without waking him up. She went to their bedroom, changed into pajamas, and lay down. She stared at the ceiling for a long time before sleep finally came. When she woke up the next morning, Trevor's side of the bed was cold. He had already left for work. Good. She had things to do. Nadia got dressed in a green blouse and black pants. She made coffee and sat at the kitchen table with her laptop. She sent emails to 3 divorce attorneys requesting consultations. Then she started looking at apartments online, marking her favorites. Her phone buzzed with a text from Trevor. Sorry I fell asleep on the couch last night. Long day. Love you. Nadia stared at the message. Love you. 2 words he typed without thinking, probably while sitting in his office, planning his next lie. She didn't respond. Instead, she called the first apartment complex on her list and scheduled a viewing for that afternoon. She had freelance work she could do from anywhere, so there was no need to stay in this house, in this life, any longer than necessary. She would take her time, do this right, but she would not stay married to a man who thought so little of her. The phone rang. It was one of the attorneys returning her call. Nadia answered and started taking notes. The lawyer explained the divorce process, what documents she would need, how long it might take. Nadia listened carefully, asked questions, wrote everything down. By the end of the call, she had her first appointment scheduled for the next day. She would bring all the evidence she had found. The photos, the messages, the receipts. She would show the lawyer everything and they would figure out the best way forward. Nadia closed her laptop and looked around the kitchen. This house had been her home for 8 years. She had picked out the curtains, planted the garden, painted the walls. She had built a life here. But it wasn't her life anymore. It was just a place where she had been fooled. She grabbed her purse and car keys and headed out to view apartments. The first step was finding a new place to live. Everything else would follow. The apartment was perfect. Small but perfect. 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, a kitchen with new appliances, and large windows that filled the space with natural light. It was on the 3rd floor of a quiet building in a neighborhood Nadia had always liked but never lived in. The landlord said she could move in at the end of the week if she passed the credit check and paid the deposits. I'll take it, Nadia said without hesitation. She wrote a check for the security deposit and first month's rent right there in the empty living room. The landlord handed her a lease to review and sign. Nadia read every word carefully before signing her name. This was real now. She was leaving. On her way home, she stopped at the bank. She walked up to a teller and asked to speak with someone about opening a new account. 20 minutes later, she had her own checking and savings accounts, separate from anything she shared with Trevor. She transferred half of the money from their joint savings into her new account. Was her money too? She had earned it from her consulting work while Trevor had apparently spent their anniversary fund on a vacation with his girlfriend. That evening, Trevor came home in a good mood. He kissed her cheek and asked about her day. It was productive, Nadia said, stirring pasta sauce on the stove. Good. Hey, I was thinking we could go out this weekend. Maybe catch a movie or try that new restaurant downtown. Nadia turned to look at him. He seemed eager, almost nervous. Was he feeling guilty? Did he sense that something was different? Maybe, she said. I might have to work. Come on, babe. You work too much. We should spend more time together. Now he wanted to spend time together. After 6 months of lying and sneaking around, now he wanted date night. Nadia felt a laugh building in her chest, but she swallowed it down. We'll see, she said. They ate dinner in near silence. Trevor kept looking at her like he wanted to say something, but he never did. After dinner, he went to the living room to watch sports. Nadia cleaned the kitchen, then went upstairs to pack. She started with the things Trevor wouldn't notice. Clothes from the back of her closet, shoes she rarely wore, old photo albums from before they got married. She packed her grandmother's jewelry, her favorite books, the good blankets her mother had given her. She worked quietly, methodically, filling boxes and storing them in the corner of the guest room closet where Trevor never looked. The next morning, Nadia met with the divorce attorney. Patricia Collins was a woman in her 50s with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense attitude. She reviewed all the evidence Nadia had brought and nodded. This is pretty straightforward. Patricia said. Adultery, proof of financial deception. You have a strong case. How do you want to handle this? I want it clean and fast, Nadia said. I don't want anything from him except what's legally mine. I just want out. Does he know you're planning to leave? No. And I'd like to keep it that way until the papers are ready. Patricia smiled slightly. I can have divorce papers drawn up by tomorrow afternoon. We'll file them with the court, and you can serve him however you'd like. I'll leave them at the house when I move out. That works. He'll have 30 days to respond. Given the evidence, I doubt he'll contest anything. He'll probably just want this over with quickly. Nadia signed the retainer agreement and wrote another check. Everything was falling into place. Over the next 3 days, Nadia moved her belongings out of the house bit by bit. She took things to her new apartment during the day while Trevor was at work. Clothes, kitchen items she had bought herself, her desk and computer, her personal files. She was careful to leave everything that was obviously his or that they had bought together. She didn't want his things. She just wanted her freedom. Trevor didn't notice. He came home every evening, ate the dinner she made, and settled in front of the television. He was on his phone constantly, smiling at messages Nadia knew weren't from her. Sometimes he would excuse himself to take phone calls in another room. He thought he was being discreet. He had no idea his wife was planning her escape. On Thursday evening, Nadia cooked Trevor's favorite meal. Steak, mashed potatoes, roasted vegetables. She even made dessert, a chocolate cake from scratch. Trevor looked surprised and pleased. What's the occasion? He asked. No occasion. Just felt like cooking something nice. They ate dinner together and Trevor talked about his day at work. Nadia listened and nodded, asking questions at appropriate times. She played the role of the devoted wife one last time. After dinner, Trevor helped her clean up, which was unusual. He kept glancing at her with an odd expression. Is everything okay? He finally asked. Everything's fine. Why? I don't know. You seem different lately. Quieter. I've just been thinking about things. It's nothing bad. Trevor looked relieved. Okay, good. I worry about you sometimes. Nadia almost laughed. You worried about her. The man who had been cheating on her for 6 months was worried about her. Don't worry, she said. Everything is exactly as it should be. That night, after Trevor fell asleep, Nadia packed the last of her things. Her toiletries from the bathroom, the last few clothes from her closet, the framed photos of her family that sat on her nightstand. She carried everything to her car and loaded it into the trunk. By 2 a.m, the house looked almost the same as it always had, just with small gaps where her life used to be. Friday morning, Nadia woke up early. She got dressed in a maroon sweater and jeans. She made coffee and sat at the kitchen table waiting. Trevor came downstairs at 7 dressed for work. You're up early, he said. Couldn't sleep. He poured himself coffee and grabbed his briefcase. I have a long day today. Might be home late. That's fine. He kissed her forehead and headed for the door. Nadia watched him leave, watched his car pull out of the driveway. She listened to the sound of the engine fading into the distance. Then she stood up and got to work. She went to the home office and retrieved the manila envelope Patricia had given her yesterday. Inside were the divorce papers, all filled out and ready to be served. Nadia placed the envelope in the center of the kitchen table. She wrote a short note on a piece of paper and placed it on top. I know everything. Don't contact me. My lawyer will be in touch. She didn't sign it. She didn't need to. Nadia took one last walk through the house. She checked every room to make sure she hadn't forgotten anything. In the bedroom, she took off her wedding ring and placed it on Trevor's dresser. 10 years of marriage reduced to a small gold band on a piece of furniture. She grabbed her purse and walked out the front door. She didn't lock it. This wasn't her home anymore. She got in her car, started the engine, and drove away without looking back. Her phone started ringing an hour later. Trevor's name flashed on the screen. Nadia let it go to voicemail. He called again. And again. After the 5th call, she blocked his number. Then she blocked him on every social media platform, every messaging app, every possible way he might try to reach her. At her new apartment, Nadia unpacked boxes and arranged furniture. She hung her clothes in the closet, put her dishes in the cabinets, made her bed with her grandmother's quilt. The apartment felt like a sanctuary. No memories here, no lies hiding in corners. Just a fresh start. Her phone buzzed with texts from numbers she didn't recognize. Trevor must have borrowed someone's phone to message her. She read the first one. Nadia, please. We need to talk. I can explain everything. She blocked the number and deleted the message. She didn't need his explanations. She had seen everything she needed to see. That night, Nadia ordered Chinese food and ate it sitting on her new couch, looking out the window at the city lights. She felt lighter than she had in months. Maybe years. The weight of the marriage, the constant wondering why Trevor seemed so distant, the nagging feeling that something was wrong, all of it was gone now. She was free. Monday morning arrived with bright sunshine streaming through Nadia's apartment windows. She made coffee in her new kitchen, the simple routine feeling like a small victory. Every action she took in this space belonged to her alone. No one to please, no one to lie to her. She opened her laptop at the small desk by the window and reviewed her work schedule. Nadia had been freelancing as a marketing consultant for 5 years, building a solid client base while Trevor's career took priority. She had always put his needs first, scheduling her work around his life. Not anymore. Her phone rang. The number belonged to Patricia, her attorney. "Good morning, Nadia. Trevor hired a lawyer. They've already responded to the divorce papers." That was fast. "He's not contesting anything. His lawyer seems eager to settle quickly and quietly. I think Trevor knows he doesn't have a leg to stand on." "Good. We should have this wrapped up in a few months, maybe sooner. I'll keep you updated." After hanging up, Nadia checked her email. There was a message from a potential client, someone referred by one of her best accounts. She opened it and read carefully. "Dear Miss Foster, I received your contact information from Gerald Stevens at Stevens Marketing. We are looking for a consultant to help with a major rebranding project for Pierce Industries. Would you be available for an initial meeting this week?" Nadia sat up straighter. Pierce Industries was one of the largest tech companies in the country. Landing them as a client would be huge for her career. She typed a response immediately, confirming her availability. The meeting was scheduled for Wednesday at Pierce Industries headquarters downtown. Nadia spent the next 2 days preparing. She researched the company, studied their current marketing strategies, and put together a preliminary presentation. This was exactly the kind of distraction she needed. Wednesday morning, Nadia dressed in a green dress and heels. She pulled her hair back in a sleek bun and checked her reflection. She looked professional, confident, put together. No one would guess that her life had fallen apart just days ago. Pierce Industries occupied the top 15 floors of a gleaming skyscraper in the heart of downtown. Nadia checked in with security and was escorted to the 30th floor. The receptionist led her to a conference room with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. "Someone will be with you shortly," the receptionist said. Nadia set up her laptop and reviewed her notes. The door opened and a man in his 30s walked in, followed by 2 assistants. "Miss Foster, I'm Robert Chin, head of marketing." Nadia shook his hand, then froze. She wasn't supposed to use that name. She had to think quickly. "Actually, it's Robert Carlson," the man corrected himself, noticing her expression. "Sorry, I've had that name on the brain from another meeting." She relaxed and they sat down. Nadia launched into her presentation, explaining her vision for Pierce Industries' rebranding campaign. Robert and his team listened intently, asking questions, taking notes. The meeting lasted an hour, and by the end, Nadia felt confident it had gone well. "This is impressive work," Robert said. "But I should mention, any major campaign needs final approval from our CEO. He's very particular about the company image." "Of course. I'd be happy to present to him as well. Actually, he's available now if you have time. Fair warning though, Julian Pierce is not easy to work with. He's brilliant, but he has impossibly high standards. Most consultants don't last long. I'd still like to try." Robert made a phone call, spoke quietly, then nodded. "He'll see you now. Top floor." Nadia gathered her materials and took the elevator to the 35th floor. The executive suite was all glass and steel, modern and cold. A secretary led her to a corner office with a view that stretched for miles. Julian Pierce stood at the window, his back to the door. He was tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a perfectly tailored charcoal suit. When he turned around, Nadia's breath caught slightly. He was younger than she expected, maybe late 30s, with dark hair and sharp features. His eyes were a striking gray, and they fixed on her with an intensity that was almost unnerving. "Miss Foster." His voice was deep, emotionless. "I have 15 minutes. Convince me." No greeting, no handshake, no smile. Just business. Nadia set up her laptop on his desk and launched into a condensed version of her presentation. Julian watched without expression, his face giving away nothing. When she finished, he was silent for a long moment. "Your ideas are competent," he finally said. "But competent isn't what Pierce Industries needs. We need exceptional." I agree, Nadia said calmly. Which is why this presentation only covers the foundation. The exceptional part comes when I understand your specific vision for the company's future. Julian's eyes narrowed slightly. Most consultants come in here with a finished plan, trying to sell me their vision. I'm not selling you my vision. I'm offering to help you execute yours. Another long silence. Then something shifted in Julian's expression. Not quite a smile, but a slight softening around his eyes. Robert tells me you just started taking new clients. That's correct. Why? Personal circumstances changed. I'm focusing on my career now. Julian studied her for a moment, and Nadia had the uncomfortable feeling that he could see right through her professional mask to the divorced woman underneath. But he simply nodded. I'll give you a trial project. Something small to start. If it meets my standards, we'll discuss the larger campaign. Thank you. I won't disappoint you. Most people do. He handed her a business card. My assistant will send you the project details today. I expect the first draft by Monday. Nadia took the card. Julian Pierce, CEO, and a direct phone number. She stood and gathered her things. Miss Foster, Julian said as she reached the door. I don't believe in second chances. This industry is too competitive for mistakes. I understand. Good. Nadia left his office with her heart pounding. The meeting had been intense, almost confrontational, but she had gotten what she came for. A chance to prove herself. On the elevator ride down, her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Nadia, it's me. Please just talk to me for 5 minutes. I miss you. I love you. Trevor. She deleted the message and blocked the number. Trevor could miss her all he wanted. She had work to do. That evening, Nadia received an email from Julian's assistant with the project details. It was a complete overhaul of Pierce Industries' social media presence, due in 5 days. Most consultants would need a team in at least 2 weeks. Julian was testing her. She smiled. Good. She liked the challenge. Nadia worked late into the night, developing strategies, creating mock-ups, writing copy. She ordered dinner from the Thai place down the street and ate while reviewing competitor analyses. Around midnight, she finally closed her laptop and went to bed. For the first time in years, she fell asleep excited about the next day. The rest of the week passed in a blur of work. Nadia barely left her apartment except for coffee runs and quick meals. She poured everything into the Pierce Industries project, determined to exceed Julian's expectations. On Sunday evening, she finished the final draft and sent it over, then collapsed on her couch. Monday morning, her phone rang at 8 o'clock sharp. Julian Pierce. Miss Foster. Your work is acceptable. Acceptable. Coming from him, that probably meant excellent. Thank you. I'm moving forward with the full campaign. Can you start immediately? Yes. Good. My assistant will send over the contract today. Plan to spend at least 3 days a week at our offices for the next month. I like to be hands-on with major projects. Understood. One more thing. Julian paused. That was good work. Better than I expected. He hung up before she could respond. Nadia stared at her phone, a smile spreading across her face. She had done it. She had landed the biggest client of her career. Her phone buzzed again. Another unknown number, another message from Trevor. I know I messed up. Please give me a chance to fix this. We can go to counseling. I'll do anything. Nadia deleted it without reading the whole thing. Trevor was her past. Julian Pierce and her career were her future. The Pierce Industries offices became Nadia's second home over the next 2 weeks. She arrived early each morning, usually before 8, and often didn't leave until after 6. Julian kept a grueling schedule, and he expected everyone around him to match his pace. He never sleeps, Robert told her one afternoon as they reviewed campaign materials. I've gotten emails from him at 3 in the morning. The man is a machine. Nadia had noticed. Julian was always in his office when she arrived, always still there when she left. He worked through lunch, took calls during meetings, and never seemed to slow down. He was also incredibly demanding. Every presentation Nadia gave was met with sharp questions and suggestions for improvement. Nothing was ever quite good enough. But she was learning his patterns. Julian wasn't cruel, just exacting. When she delivered work that met his standards, he acknowledged it with a brief nod or a simple, adequate. High praise from a man who rarely gave compliments. On Thursday afternoon, Nadia was in her temporary office reviewing analytics when Julian appeared in the doorway. She looked up, surprised. He never came to her office. She always went to him. The campaign launch is in 3 weeks, he said without preamble. I want to review everything tomorrow. Clear your schedule. Of course. 8 o'clock. My office. He turned to leave, then paused. You worked late last night. It wasn't a question. The building had security logs. The quarterly report needed adjustments, Nadia said. That report wasn't due until next week. I prefer to stay ahead of deadlines. Julian studied her for a moment. Most people in this building are here because they have to be. You're here because you choose to be. Is that a problem? No. It's refreshing. He walked away before she could respond. Nadia stared at the empty doorway, confused. Was that a compliment? From Julian Pierce it was hard to tell. The next morning she arrived at his office at 7:45, prepared with updated materials and detailed reports. Julian was on the phone when she walked in, speaking rapid fire in what sounded like Mandarin. He gestured for her to sit and continued his conversation for another 5 minutes. When he finally hung up, he looked at her across the massive desk. Show me what you have. They worked through the entire campaign, piece by piece. Julian questioned every decision, challenged every choice, pushed her to defend her strategies. It was exhausting and exhilarating at the same time. By noon, they had refined the campaign into something even better than Nadia's original vision. We should eat, Julian said, glancing at his watch. There's a place downstairs that delivers. I can go get something, Nadia offered. Sit. I'll order. He picked up his phone and made a call, ordering 2 lunches without asking what she wanted. The food arrived 20 minutes later. Nadia was surprised to find he had ordered exactly what she would have chosen. A grilled chicken salad with vinaigrette on the side. How did you know? She asked. You order the same thing every day from the cafeteria? He had noticed what she ate for lunch. Nadia wasn't sure what to make of that. They ate in silence for a few minutes. Then Julian set down his fork and looked at her directly. You're recently divorced. Nadia nearly choked on her water. How did you know that? You stopped wearing your wedding ring 2 weeks ago. There's a tan line on your finger where it used to be. You work longer hours than necessary. You never mention a spouse. It's not difficult to figure out. She should have been annoyed at his observation, but instead she was impressed. Most people didn't notice details like that. Yes. The divorce is in progress. Is that why you're throwing yourself into work? Partly. Also because this is a good opportunity. Julian nodded. For what it's worth, whoever he was, he made a mistake. Nadia blinked. That was the closest thing to personal Julian had ever said to her. Thank you. It's not a compliment. It's an observation. You're talented and dedicated. Those qualities are rare. They finished lunch and went back to work. As the afternoon wore on, Nadia noticed Julian seemed slightly less rigid than usual. He made a joke about one of the marketing slogans, a dry comment that made her laugh. He even smiled slightly, though it disappeared quickly. At 6 o'clock, Julian closed his laptop. That's enough for today. Good work. Thank you. Nadia. He used her first name for the first time. Would you have dinner with me tomorrow night? To discuss the campaign launch. She hesitated. It sounded like a business dinner, but something in his tone suggested otherwise. Just dinner, Julian added, reading her expression. I know a place with private rooms. We can work without interruption. All right. What time? 7. I'll send a car for you. The next evening, a black town car picked Nadia up from her apartment. She wore a red dress, professional but elegant. The driver took her to an upscale restaurant downtown, the kind of place with a waiting list measured in months. Julian was already there, seated at a table in a private dining room with a view of the city lights. Thank you for coming, he said, standing as she approached. Thank you for inviting me. They ordered, and for the first hour they did actually discuss the campaign. But as dinner progressed, the conversation shifted. Julian asked about her background, her education, how she got into marketing. Nadia found herself talking more than she had in months, telling him about growing up in a small town, working her way through college, building her consulting business from nothing. You did all that while married? Julian asked. My husband had his career. I had mine. Had. He thought his job was more important. I spent years supporting his goals while mine took a back seat. Julian's expression darkened. That was foolish of him. It was foolish of me to allow it. You're not foolish now. Nadia met his eyes. There was something intense in his gaze, something that had nothing to do with business. She should have felt uncomfortable, but she didn't. Instead, she felt seen in a way she hadn't in years. Julian, she said carefully, is this actually about the campaign? He set down his wine glass. No. Then what is this? Honestly, I'm not entirely sure. I don't do this. He gestured between them. I don't have dinner with employees or consultants for personal reasons. I don't notice what people eat for lunch. But I notice you. Nadia's heart beat faster. I work for you. Technically you work for Pierce Industries. And this campaign will be finished in a few weeks. Are you asking me on a date? I'm saying I'd like to spend time with you that isn't related to work. If you're interested. She should say no. This was complicated, unprofessional, potentially messy. But when she looked at Julian, she saw something in his usually cold expression that made her reconsider. Vulnerability. He was taking a risk by asking her. I'm interested, Nadia said. But I need to be honest with you. I just got out of a marriage that ended badly. I'm not looking for anything serious right now. Neither am I, Julian said. I built this company from nothing and it's taken everything I have. I don't have time for serious relationships. So what are you suggesting? That we see where this goes. No pressure, no expectations. Nadia considered it. What did she have to lose? She was already rebuilding her entire life. Why not take a chance on something new? Okay, she said. Let's see where this goes. Julian's lips curved into a small smile, the first real smile she had seen from him. It transformed his entire face, making him look younger and less severe. I should warn you, he said. People call me the coldest man in business. I'm not good at this sort of thing. That's all right. I'm not looking for romance novel perfect. I'm just looking for honest. I can do honest. They talked for another hour, the conversation flowing easily now that the tension had broken. Nadia learned that Julian had started his company 10 years ago with money he had saved working 3 jobs. He had no family, his parents had died in a car accident when he was 22, and he had built his fortune alone. He was driven, focused, and admittedly terrible at relationships. I've been told I'm cold, unfeeling, impossible to get close to, Julian said. Multiple people have told me I care more about my company than about anything else. Do you? I did. Until recently. When the car dropped Nadia off at her apartment that night, Julian walked her to the door. They stood in the hallway, an awkward silence between them. Thank you for dinner, Nadia said. Thank you for saying yes. Julian leaned in slowly, giving her time to pull away. When she didn't, he kissed her softly. It was brief, gentle, nothing like she would have expected from a man with his reputation. When he pulled back, his eyes searched her face. Good night, Nadia. Good night, Julian. She watched him walk back to the elevator before going inside. Her phone buzzed almost immediately. A text from an unknown number. I saw you with someone tonight. Who is he? We're still married, Nadia. You can't just move on like this. Trevor. He was watching her. The thought sent a chill down her spine. She blocked the number and made a mental note to tell Julian. This was getting out of hand. But she refused to let Trevor ruin her good mood. For the first time since discovering his affair, Nadia felt happy. She felt alive. And she wasn't going to let her ex-husband take that away from her. The next few weeks fell into a comfortable pattern. Nadia worked at Pierce Industries during the day, often staying late to refine campaign details. In the evenings, she and Julian would have dinner, sometimes discussing business but increasingly just talking. He was nothing like Trevor. Julian listened when she spoke, remembered small details she mentioned in passing, and treated her opinions with respect. Tell me about your family, Nadia asked one evening over dinner at a small Italian restaurant Julian had recommended. His expression clouded. There's not much to tell. My parents died when I was 22. Car accident. I was an only child, so after that I was alone. I'm sorry. That must have been difficult. It was. They had just retired, were finally going to travel and enjoy life. Then one drunk driver took all of that away. Julian's hands tightened around his wine glass. I threw myself into work after that. Started Pierce Industries 6 months later. I told myself I'd build something that would last, something that couldn't be taken away. Is that why you work so hard? Why you're so demanding? Partly. I also just hate mediocrity. Life is too short for half measures. Nadia reached across the table and placed her hand over his. You've built an incredible company, Julian. Your parents would be proud. He looked at their joined hands, then up at her face. I don't talk about them often. Most people don't ask. Most people are probably too intimidated by you to ask personal questions. But you're not intimidated. Should I be? Julian smiled, that rare expression that made him look younger. No. I like that you're not afraid of me. They left the restaurant and walked through the city streets. It was a clear night, warm for October. Julian took her hand as they walked, and Nadia felt a flutter in her chest. This was moving fast, maybe too fast, but it felt right in a way nothing had felt right in years. "I need to tell you something," Nadia said. "Trevor has been watching me. He sent me a text last week saying he saw me with someone." Julian stopped walking. "Your ex-husband is following you?" "I think so. I've blocked his number multiple times, but he keeps messaging from different phones. That's not acceptable. Have you contacted the police?" "Not yet. I don't know if he's actually dangerous or just desperate." Julian pulled out his phone. "I'm having my head of security look into this. We'll make sure he stays away from you." "You don't have to do that." "Yes, I do. You work for my company and you're important to me. I'm not letting some unstable ex-husband harass you." Nadia felt warmth spread through her chest. Important to him. Julian had actually said that. "Thank you," she said softly. He cupped her face in his hands. "I know we said no pressure, no expectations. But I need you to know that I care about you, Nadia. More than I've cared about anyone in a very long time. I care about you too." Julian kissed her, deeper this time, more certain. When they finally pulled apart, they were both breathless. "Come back to my place," Julian said. "We can have coffee, talk more. I promise to be a gentleman." Nadia laughed. "Okay." Julian's penthouse apartment was stunning, all floor-to-ceiling windows and modern furniture. The view of the city was breathtaking. But what surprised Nadia most was how lived in it felt. There were books on the shelves, photos on the walls, plants by the windows. She had expected something cold and sterile like his office. Instead, it felt like a home. "This is beautiful," she said, walking to the windows. "Thank you. I spend most of my time at the office, but when I'm here, I like it to be comfortable." They sat on the couch with coffee, and Julian pointed out different buildings visible from the windows, telling her stories about the city. He was more relaxed here, away from the office and his CEO persona. This was the real Julian, the man behind the cold exterior. "Why do you let people think you're so difficult?" Nadia asked. "Because it keeps them at a distance. Most people want something from me. Money, connections, a piece of my company. It's easier to be cold than to constantly wonder who's genuine and who's just using me." "That sounds lonely." "It is. But it's also safer." "You don't have to be safe with me, Julian. I don't want anything from you except your time and your honesty." He looked at her for a long moment. "I believe you. That's rare for me." They talked until past midnight. Julian told her about building his company, the struggles and triumphs, the people who had betrayed him along the way. Nadia shared more about her marriage, how she had slowly lost herself trying to be the perfect wife for a man who didn't appreciate her. "He was a fool," Julian said firmly. "You're extraordinary, Nadia. You're smart, talented, beautiful. Any man would be lucky to have you. You're not so bad yourself." He laughed, a real laugh that made her smile. "I've been called many things. Not so bad is probably the kindest." When Nadia finally left his apartment around 1 in the morning, Julian kissed her goodnight at the door. "I'll see you tomorrow at the office. Try to get some sleep." "You too. I never sleep much. But I'll try." The next morning, Nadia arrived at Pierce Industries to find a security guard waiting for her. He introduced himself as Thomas, head of Julian's personal security team. "Mr. Pierce asked me to look into your situation," Thomas said. "We've identified Trevor Foster. He's been seen near this building 3 times in the past week and twice near your apartment building. I have photos if you'd like to see them." Nadia's stomach turned. Trevor really was stalking her. What should I do? "First, file for a restraining order. I can connect you with someone who specializes in these cases. Second, be aware of your surroundings. If you see him, don't engage. Call me immediately." Thomas handed her a business card. "My number is on there. I'm available 24 hours a day." "Thank you. Mr. Pierce takes threats to his people seriously. We'll make sure you're safe." Nadia went to her office, her hands shaking slightly. She knew Trevor was upset about the divorce, but this was beyond anything she had expected. She called Patricia, her divorce attorney, and explained the situation. "I'll file for an emergency restraining order this afternoon," Patricia said. "Given the evidence of stalking, we should get it approved quickly." The rest of the day passed in a blur. Nadia tried to focus on work, but her mind kept wandering to Trevor. What did he want? Did he really think harassing her would make her come back? Julian appeared in her office doorway at 6 o'clock. "Thomas told me about Trevor. Are you okay?" "I'm fine. Just shaken up. Come to my office. We need to talk." In his office, Julian poured her a glass of water and sat beside her on the couch, not behind his desk. It was a small gesture, but it meant a lot. I'm having my legal team help with the restraining order, Julian said. They're the best in the state. Trevor won't be able to come near you. You're doing too much. This isn't your problem. Yes, it is. You're important to me, Nadia. I told you that last night. I mean it. Tears welled up in Nadia's eyes. She had been strong for so long, holding everything together, but Julian's kindness broke through her defenses. Hey, Julian said softly, wiping a tear from her cheek. You're safe. I promise. I just don't understand why he won't leave me alone. He's the one who cheated. He destroyed our marriage. What more does he want from me? Some people can't handle losing control. He thought you'd always be there, and now that you're gone, he's desperate to get that power back. Well, he can't have it. I'm done being controlled. Good. Julian pulled her close, and Nadia rested her head on his shoulder. They sat like that for a long time, not talking, just being together. Nadia, Julian finally said. I know we've only been doing this for a few weeks, but I need you to know that I'm serious about you. About us. I haven't felt this way about anyone in years. Maybe ever. She lifted her head to look at him. I feel the same way. It scares me a little. Everything with Trevor happened so fast at the beginning too. I don't want to make the same mistakes. This isn't the same. Trevor took you for granted. I won't do that. I see you, all of you. And I'm not going anywhere. Nadia kissed him, pouring all her gratitude and growing feelings into it. Julian responded with equal intensity, his hands tangling in her hair. When they finally broke apart, both were breathing hard. Stay with me tonight, Julian said. Not for anything physical. I just don't want you to be alone after today. Okay. They went back to his penthouse, ordered takeout, and spent the evening on the couch watching old movies. Julian held her close, occasionally pressing kisses to her forehead. It was comfortable and intimate in a way that had nothing to do with romance and everything to do with genuine connection. Nadia fell asleep in his arms, feeling safer than she had in weeks. The restraining order was approved within 48 hours. Trevor was legally barred from coming within 500 feet of Nadia, her workplace, or her apartment. Patricia called to confirm the order had been served. He didn't take it well, Patricia said. His lawyer said Trevor became very agitated. We've documented everything in case we need it later. Nadia hoped it wouldn't come to that. She just wanted Trevor to accept the divorce and move on. Life settled into a new rhythm. The Pierce Industries campaign launched to tremendous success. Julian's company saw a 30% increase in customer engagement in the first week alone. Robert Chen praised Nadia's work in a company-wide email, and Julian took her to dinner to celebrate. You've exceeded every expectation, Julian said, raising his wine glass. Pierce Industries is lucky to have you. Thank you. Though technically the campaign is finished. My contract is complete. Then I'll create a new one. I want you on retainer. Name your price. Nadia smiled. Can I think about it? Of course. But don't think too long. Other companies will try to recruit you after seeing these results. They were finishing dessert when Nadia saw him. Trevor stood near the restaurant entrance, staring at their table. He looked terrible, like he hadn't slept in days. His clothes were wrinkled, his hair messy. When their eyes met, he started walking toward them. Julian, Nadia said quietly. Trevor's here. Julian's expression went cold. He stood up just as Trevor reached their table. Nadia, please, Trevor said, ignoring Julian completely. Just talk to me for 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking. You're violating a restraining order, Nadia said calmly. You need to leave. I need to explain. She didn't mean anything to me. It was a mistake. I love you. I want to fix our marriage. We don't have a marriage anymore, Trevor. We're getting divorced. Because of him? Trevor finally looked at Julian, his face twisting with anger. You moved on that fast? We're not even divorced yet, and you're already sleeping with someone else. Julian stepped forward, positioning himself between Trevor and Nadia. He didn't raise his voice, but his tone was absolute ice. You need to leave. Now. This doesn't concern you, Trevor spat. It concerns me when someone harasses a person I care about. Nadia has asked you to leave. The restraining order mandates you stay away from her. You're currently in violation of a court order. You can't tell me what to do. I'm her husband. You're her ex-husband. And if you don't leave in the next 30 seconds, I will call the police and have you arrested. Trevor looked at Nadia again, desperation clear on his face. Please, Nadia. Just talk to me. Give me another chance. No, Trevor. We're done. I've moved on, and you need to do the same. You can't just throw away 10 years like it meant nothing. You threw it away when you took your girlfriend on vacation with our anniversary money. I'm just choosing not to pick it back up. Trevor's face went red. For a moment, Nadia thought he might do something violent. But Julian pulled out his phone. I'm calling the police now, Julian said, already dialing. You have one chance to leave before they arrive. Trevor looked between them, realizing he had lost. He took a step back, then another. This isn't over, he said to Nadia. Yes, it is. Trevor stormed out of the restaurant just as the manager hurried over, apologizing profusely. Julian spoke quietly to the manager, then guided Nadia outside to where his car was waiting. Are you all right? Julian asked once they were in the back seat. I'm fine. Just angry. He had no right to show up like that. We're filing a police report tonight. He violated the restraining order. There will be consequences. True to his word, Julian drove them directly to the police station. They filed a report, providing the security footage the restaurant manager had sent to Julian's phone. The officer assured them Trevor would be arrested if he violated the order again. Back at Julian's penthouse, Nadia sat on the couch feeling drained. Julian sat beside her and took her hand. I'm sorry that happened, he said. It's not your fault. Trevor is the one who can't accept reality. He's also desperate. Desperate people do irrational things. I want you to stay here for a few days. The building has excellent security. He won't be able to get near you. I can't hide from him forever. You're not hiding. You're being smart. Once he's arrested for violating the restraining order, he'll realize the consequences of his actions. Nadia nodded. Julian was right. She needed to be practical about this. Her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. She opened it cautiously. Nadia, this is Bethany. Trevor's girlfriend. I know you don't want to hear from me, but we need to talk. He's been acting crazy since you left. I'm worried about what he might do. Please call me. Nadia showed the message to Julian. Don't respond, he said immediately. This could be a trap. Trevor might be using her to get to you. What if she's genuinely concerned? Then she can go to the police. You don't owe her anything, Nadia. She was part of the reason your marriage ended. She didn't make Trevor cheat. He made that choice. True. But that doesn't mean you need to involve yourself with her now. Block the number. Nadia hesitated, then did as Julian suggested. He was right. Whatever was happening between Trevor and Bethany was their problem, not hers. I'm going to make some calls, Julian said. Increase security at your apartment and the office. Thomas will coordinate everything. While Julian was on the phone, Nadia walked to the windows and looked out at the city. She thought about Trevor, about the years they had spent together. Had there been signs she missed? Had he always been capable of this kind of obsessive behavior, or was this new? She felt Julian's arms wrap around her from behind. He rested his chin on her shoulder. I won't let him hurt you, Julian said quietly. I know. I mean it, Nadia. I will do everything in my power to keep you safe. She turned in his arms and kissed him. Thank you for being here. For everything. Always. They stood like that for a long time, holding each other, drawing strength from each other. Nadia realized she was falling in love with Julian. It terrified and thrilled her at the same time. After everything that happened with Trevor, she had thought she was done with love, done with trusting men. But Julian was different. He showed up. He protected her. He saw her as an equal, not as someone to control. Julian, she said softly, I think I'm falling for you. He pulled back to look at her face. Good. Because I've already fallen for you. He kissed her deeply, and Nadia felt the last of her walls crumbling. She had been so focused on protecting herself, on not getting hurt again, that she had almost missed this real, honest connection with someone who actually valued her. They spent the night talking, planning, just being together. Julian told her more about his past, about the lonely years after his parents died, about building his company as a way to fill the emptiness. Nadia shared more about her childhood, her dreams, the parts of herself she had lost in her marriage. By morning they both felt like they understood each other in a way few people ever did. Stay here as long as you need, Julian said over breakfast. Consider this your home. I have my own apartment. I know. But I sleep better when you're here. Nadia smiled. Okay. I'll stay for a while. It was the right decision. Over the next week, Trevor was arrested twice for violating the restraining order. The second time he spent 3 days in jail before being released on bail. According to Patricia, his lawyer was advising him to complete the divorce quickly and quietly to avoid more serious charges. Trevor's obsession was finally breaking. Nadia could move forward with her life. Spring arrived with warm sunshine and blooming flowers. Nadia stood in Julian's kitchen making coffee, wearing one of his shirts. She had officially moved in 2 months ago, though her apartment lease didn't expire for another 4 months. They split time between his penthouse and her smaller place, but this felt more like home. "Morning," Julian said, walking into the kitchen and kissing her neck. "You're up early. Big meeting today. I want to review my presentation one more time." Nadia's consulting business had exploded after the Pierce Industries campaign. She now had 5 major clients and was considering hiring an assistant. Julian encouraged her to grow the business, never once suggesting she should slow down or prioritize their relationship over her career. "You'll do great," Julian said. "You always do." They had breakfast together talking about their respective days. Julian had a board meeting, Nadia had her client presentation. They moved around each other easily, comfortable in their routines. "I have something for you," Julian said, reaching into his briefcase. He pulled out an envelope and handed it to her. Nadia opened it and found tickets to a jazz concert. Her favorite artist, someone she had mentioned once in passing months ago. "Julian, these are impossible to get." "Not impossible. Just difficult." He smiled. "I thought we could use a proper date. We've been so busy with work lately." "This is perfect. Thank you." She kissed him, and the kiss deepened until Julian pulled back reluctantly. "I need to get to the office. But tonight it's just us. No work talk. Deal." Nadia's presentation went perfectly. She landed the new client, a major retail chain looking to overhaul their entire marketing strategy. It was her biggest solo contract yet, worth more than she had made in the entire previous year. She called Julian to tell him the news. "That's fantastic," he said, genuine pride in his voice. "We're celebrating tonight. Dinner before the concert. You don't have to make a big deal out of it." "Yes, I do. You've worked incredibly hard for this. You deserve to celebrate." That evening, Julian took her to the same restaurant where they had their first real date. They sat at the same table, and Nadia felt a wave of affection for this man who remembered details like that. "Do you remember what I told you that night?" Julian asked over dinner. "You said you cared more about your company than anything else." "I said I used to. That was the night I realized I cared more about you." Nadia reached across the table and took his hand. "I was so scared that night. I had just left my marriage and here was this intense, powerful man telling me he noticed me. It felt too fast." "Was it?" "No. It was exactly the right timing. I needed someone who saw me as strong, not broken. You never treated me like a victim. You're not a victim. You're a survivor. There's a difference." They finished dinner and went to the concert. The music was beautiful, and Nadia leaned against Julian's shoulder, feeling completely content. This was what happiness felt like. Not the desperate, anxious feeling she had with Trevor, always wondering if she was enough. This was peaceful, secure, real. After the concert, they walked through the park near Julian's building. The city lights reflected off the pond, and couples walked hand in hand along the paths. Julian stopped at a bench overlooking the water. "Sit with me for a minute," he said. They sat close together, Julian's arm around her shoulders. He was quiet for a moment, unusual for him. "Nadia, I need to tell you something." Her heart skipped. He sounded serious. "I've been thinking a lot about us. About the future. I know we said no pressure, no expectations when we started this. But things have changed. At least for me." "They've changed for me too," Nadia said softly. "I love you. I'm in love with you. I have been for months, but I was scared to say it. Scared you weren't ready, scared I'd push you away." Nadia turned to face him fully. "Julian, I love you too. I think I have since that first dinner when you told me about your parents. You let me see the real you, not the cold CO everyone else sees." He cupped her face in his hands. "You changed my life. Before you I just worked. I built my empire but I had no one to share it with. Now I have you and everything means more. You changed my life too. You showed me what real partnership looks like. What it feels like to be valued." Julian kissed her, soft and sweet. When he pulled back, his eyes were bright. "Move in with me. Officially. Make this your home. I already spend every night here." "I know. But I want it to be official. I want your name on the lease. I want to wake up every morning knowing you're not going anywhere." "Yes," Nadia said without hesitation. "Yes, I'll move in with you." Julian smiled, that rare full smile that made her heart flutter. "Good. Because I already had your name added to the lease last week." Nadia laughed. "You were that confident?" "No. I was that hopeful." They kissed again and Nadia felt like her life had finally come together. She had her successful business, her independence, and now she had love. Real, honest love with a man who respected her. The next day, Nadia received a call from Patricia. Good news. Trevor signed the divorce papers. Everything is finalized. You're officially divorced. Nadia felt a weight lift from her shoulders. That's wonderful. Thank you for everything, Patricia. He also dropped the appeal on the property settlement. You get to keep everything you asked for. His lawyer said Trevor just wants this over with. After hanging up, Nadia sat at her desk feeling free. The divorce was final. Trevor was out of her life for good. She could move forward without any legal ties to her past. She called Julian to tell him. That's great news, he said. How do you feel? Relieved. Happy. Ready for the next chapter. Good. Because I have a surprise for you tonight. Another surprise? You're spoiling me. You deserve to be spoiled. That evening, Julian picked her up from the office. Instead of heading to his penthouse, he drove to a different part of the city. He pulled up in front of a beautiful brick building with a small garden in front. Where are we? Nadia asked. Come see. He led her inside and up to the second floor. He unlocked a door and gestured for her to enter. The space was a fully furnished office, bright and modern with huge windows overlooking the garden. There was a large desk, comfortable chairs, built-in bookshelves, and a small meeting area. What is this? Nadia asked. Your new office. For your consulting business. I know you've been working from home or coffee shops. I thought you might like a dedicated space. Nadia walked around the room taking it all in. Julian, this is too much. It's not. It's an investment in your success. The building is owned by Pierce Industries so you can have it rent-free for as long as you need it. Consider it my way of supporting your business. Tears welled up in Nadia's eyes. Trevor had never supported her business. He had always seen it as a hobby, something she did to keep busy. But Julian understood how important her career was to her. He celebrated her success instead of feeling threatened by it. I don't know what to say, Nadia whispered. Say you'll use it. Build your business. Hire that assistant you've been thinking about. Grow this into everything you've dreamed of. She walked over and hugged him tightly. Thank you. This is the most thoughtful gift anyone has ever given me. You're welcome. And there's one more thing. Julian pulled a key from his pocket. This is yours. Your space. I won't ever come here without your permission. This is separate from us, just for you. Nadia took the key, understanding the significance. Julian was giving her independence and partnership at the same time. He wanted her to have her own success, her own space, while still being part of his life. I love you, she said. I love you too. They stood in her new office, holding each other, both understanding that this was a turning point. They weren't just dating anymore. They were building a life together, supporting each other's dreams, creating something real and lasting. Later that night, back at the penthouse, Nadia's phone buzzed. A text from Trevor's lawyer. Trevor asked me to pass along a message. He wanted to say he's sorry for everything. He's moving to another state for a fresh start. He won't bother you again. Nadia showed the message to Julian. How do you feel about that? He asked. I feel nothing. He's part of my past now. A closed chapter. Good. Because your future is here with me. Nadia smiled. Yes, it is. Nadia hired her first employee in May, a recent college graduate named Rita who was eager to learn the consulting business. Rita was smart, organized, and had a creative approach to marketing that impressed Nadia immediately. With Rita handling administrative tasks and smaller clients, Nadia could focus on growing the business. You were right about needing help, Nadia told Julian over dinner one evening. I couldn't have taken on the Henderson account without Rita managing everything else. I'm glad it's working out. How is the Henderson campaign progressing? Better than expected. They want to expand the project to include their international divisions. Julian set down his fork, a smile playing at his lips. That's a $500,000 account. Closer to 700,000 actually. Nadia, that's incredible. In less than a year, you've built a business that rivals firms that have been around for decades. She felt a flutter of pride. I had good training. Working with Pierce Industries taught me how to handle major clients. You were talented before you ever walked into my office. I just gave you a platform. They finished dinner and moved to the couch. Julian had been quieter than usual tonight, and Nadia could tell something was on his mind. What's going on? She asked. I have a business proposition for you. Strictly professional. I'm listening. Pierce Industries is expanding internationally. We're opening offices in London, Singapore, and Toronto over the next 18 months. I need someone to manage the marketing strategy for all 3 launches. That's a massive undertaking. Yes. Which is why I need the best. I want to hire your firm, Nadia. This would be a 2-year contract worth approximately $3 million. Nadia's breath caught. $3 million. That was more money than she had ever imagined making. Julian, I can't accept that. We're together. People will say I only got the contract because we're in a relationship. People will always have opinions. But this is a legitimate business offer. I've seen what you're capable of. Your work with Pierce Industries last year increased our customer base by 40%. The Henderson account results speak for themselves. You're the right person for this job. I need to think about it. Of course. Take all the time you need. But know that this offer is based solely on your professional qualifications. Our personal relationship is completely separate. Over the next week, Nadia wrestled with the decision. She consulted with Rita, reviewed the proposal, and ran the numbers. The contract would set up her business for life. She could hire more employees, expand her services, become a major player in the consulting world. But was she ready for that level of responsibility? She called a meeting with Julian's executive team to discuss the proposal. Robert was there, along with the CFO and head of operations. They walked her through the project timeline, expectations, and deliverables. By the end of the 3-hour meeting, Nadia knew she could do this. I'm in, she told Julian that evening. I accept the contract. Julian grinned. I was hoping you'd say that. But we need to set some ground rules. When we're working together, we're strictly professional. No special treatment, no favoritism. I need to earn the respect of your team on my own merit. Agreed. Though for the record, you already have their respect. Robert told me this afternoon that you're the most qualified consultant he's ever worked with. Nadia smiled. He actually said that? He did. And coming from Robert, that's high praise. They celebrated with champagne, toasting to Nadia's growing business. She felt on top of the world. Everything she had worked for, everything she had dreamed about during those years feeling undervalued in her marriage, it was all coming true. The next morning, Nadia arrived at her office to find Rita waiting with news. Trevor called, Rita said. I told him you weren't available, but he left a message. He said his business is failing and asked if you could help him. Nadia's good mood evaporated. What did you tell him? That you don't take new clients without a referral and that he should try another consulting firm. Perfect response. If he calls again, don't engage. Just hang up. Understood. Nadia sat at her desk thinking about Trevor. His business was failing. She wasn't surprised. Trevor had relied on her to manage his client relationships, handle his marketing, smooth over his mistakes. Without her, he was floundering. Part of her felt vindicated. He had thrown away their marriage for a fling with Bethany, and now he was paying the consequences. But mostly she just felt indifferent. Trevor's problems weren't her concern anymore. Her phone rang. It was Julian. Lunch today? He asked. I want to introduce you to our international team. They'll be flying in for the project kickoff meeting tomorrow. I'd love to. Lunch was at an upscale restaurant near Pierce Industries headquarters. Julian introduced Nadia to executives from London, Singapore, and Toronto. They discussed their respective markets, cultural considerations, and brand positioning. Nadia took notes, asked questions, and outlined her preliminary strategy. By the end of lunch, the international team was clearly impressed. I can see why Julian chose you for this project, said Margaret from the London office. You have a sharp understanding of global markets. Thank you. I'm looking forward to working with all of you. As they were leaving the restaurant, Nadia spotted a familiar figure across the street. Trevor stood near a bus stop, staring at them. He looked worse than the last time she had seen him, thinner and disheveled. Julian noticed him too. Stay here. Julian, don't. He's not worth it. I'm not going to confront him. I'm calling Thomas. Julian made a quick call to his head of security while Nadia watched Trevor. Their eyes met across the street, and she saw the desperation in his expression. He mouthed something that looked like please, but she looked away. Thomas arrived within minutes with 2 security officers. They crossed the street and spoke to Trevor, who initially resisted but eventually walked away when Thomas showed him something on his phone, probably documentation of the restraining order violations. He's getting more desperate, Julian said grimly. We need to be more careful. He can't hurt me anymore, Julian. I won't let him. I know. But desperate people are unpredictable. That evening, Nadia received an email from Trevor's lawyer. Trevor wanted to meet with her to discuss his business problems and ask for her professional help. The email was formal, professional, but Nadia could read between the lines. Trevor thought he could use business as an excuse to contact her. She forwarded the email to her own lawyer with a simple note. Please respond that I'm not available and not interested. Julian read the email over her shoulder. Do you think he'll keep trying? Probably. But eventually he'll realize I'm not coming back. Not as his wife, not as his consultant, not as anything. Good. Because you're mine now. Nadia turned in his arms. I'm my own person, Julian Pierce. He smiled. Of course you are. But you're also mine. And I'm yours. That's how partnership works. Yes, it is. They spent the evening working side by side, Nadia preparing for the international project kickoff and Julian reviewing contracts for a potential acquisition. It was comfortable, easy, both of them pursuing their own goals while being together. This was what Nadia had always wanted. A partner who supported her ambitions instead of competing with them. Around midnight, Julian closed his laptop and stretched. Bed? He asked. In a minute. I want to finish this proposal. He kissed the top of her head. Don't stay up too late. I won't. But Nadia worked for another hour, perfecting every detail of her international strategy. This project would define her career. She wanted it to be flawless. When she finally crawled into bed beside Julian, he stirred and pulled her close. You're going to be amazing, he murmured, half asleep. Thank you for believing in me. Always. Nadia fell asleep feeling grateful. For Julian, for her business, for the life she had built after leaving Trevor. She had taken a painful ending and turned it into a beautiful beginning. The international campaign launch was scheduled for a Friday evening gala at the Grand Hotel. Pierce Industries had spared no expense, transforming the ballroom into an elegant showcase of the company's global expansion. Nadia stood near the stage watching guests arrive, feeling a mixture of excitement and nerves. Rita appeared at her elbow. Everything is set. The presentations are loaded, the displays are ready, and the press has confirmed attendance. Thank you, Rita. You've been incredible through all of this. Are you kidding? This is the opportunity of a lifetime. I'm learning more here than I would in 5 years anywhere else. Julian found Nadia an hour before the presentations were scheduled to begin. He looked stunning in a tailored navy suit, his usual serious expression softened when he saw her. You look beautiful, he said, taking in her emerald green dress. Thank you. Are you nervous? No. I'm confident. You've done exceptional work and everyone will see that tonight. The gala started at 7. Nadia gave the opening presentation, outlining Pierce Industries' international expansion strategy and marketing approach. She spoke confidently, her voice steady, her message clear. The audience, filled with investors, business leaders, and press, listened intently. When she finished, the applause was thunderous. Julian took the stage next, outlining the business strategy and financial projections. Together, their presentations painted a picture of a company ready to dominate global markets. After the formal presentations, the gala shifted to networking and celebration. Nadia found herself surrounded by people wanting to discuss her work, offer congratulations, or explore potential collaborations. She handled each conversation gracefully, never showing the exhaustion building beneath her professional exterior. Around 10 o'clock, Julian rescued her from a particularly long-winded investor and led her to a quiet balcony overlooking the city. You need a break, he said, handing her a glass of champagne. I'm fine. You've been talking nonstop for 3 hours. Take 5 minutes. Nadia sipped her champagne and leaned against the balcony railing. The city spread out below them, lights twinkling in the darkness. Tonight was perfect, she said. Everything went exactly as planned. Better than planned. The press is already running positive stories. The investors are thrilled. You've set Pierce Industries up for incredible success. We did it together. Julian moved closer, his hand finding hers. Nadia, there's something I need to say. She turned to face him, surprised by his serious tone. What is it? I've spent my entire adult life building my company. After my parents died, work became everything. I told myself I didn't need anything else, that success was enough. But then you walked into my office a year ago and everything changed. Nadia's heart started beating faster. You made me realize that success means nothing if you have no one to share it with, Julian continued. You challenged me, pushed me, made me want to be better. You saw past the cold exterior everyone else sees and found the person underneath. You made me feel alive again. Julian? He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Nadia's breath caught as he opened it, revealing a stunning diamond ring. I love you, Nadia. I want to spend the rest of my life with you. Will you marry me? Tears filled Nadia's eyes. A year ago, she had been trapped in a dying marriage, feeling invisible and undervalued. Now she stood on a balcony overlooking the city, her career thriving, being proposed to by a man who saw her, truly saw her. Yes, she said, her voice breaking with emotion. Yes, I'll marry you. Julian slipped the ring onto her finger, then pulled her into a kiss. When they finally broke apart, both had tears in their eyes. I never thought I'd want this again, Nadia admitted. After Trevor, I thought I was done with marriage. This isn't like that. We're partners, equals. I'll never make you feel less than you are. I know. That's why I said yes. They stayed on the balcony for a few more minutes just holding each other. Then Julian took her hand. Ready to go back inside and celebrate? Let's wait a bit. I want to enjoy this moment with just you. Julian smiled. Whatever you want. They didn't announce the engagement that night, wanting to keep it private for a little longer. But the next morning, photos from the gala were everywhere. Several shots showed Nadia and Julian together, his hand on her back, her looking up at him with obvious affection. The business press started speculating about their relationship. Should we release a statement? Nadia asked over breakfast. Only if you want to. Personally, I don't think our relationship is anyone's business but ours. Agreed. Let them speculate. Rita called later that morning, bursting with excitement. Have you seen the press coverage? It's incredible. 3 major business magazines want to interview you. 2 international consulting firms want to discuss partnerships. Nadia, you're becoming a major player in this industry. That's wonderful. Can you schedule the interviews for next week? After hanging up, Nadia sat back and smiled. Her business was thriving, she was engaged to an incredible man, and she felt more confident and capable than ever before. Her phone buzzed. An email from an unknown sender. She opened it cautiously. Nadia, I saw the photos from the gala. You look happy. I'm glad. I'm sorry for everything I put you through. I'm moving to Seattle next week for a fresh start. I won't bother you again. I hope you have a great life. Trevor. Nadia read the message twice, then showed it to Julian. How do you feel? He asked. Like it's finally over. Really over. He's letting go. Are you going to respond? No. There's nothing left to say. That chapter of my life is closed. She deleted the email and blocked the sender. Trevor was her past. Julian was her future. That evening, Julian took her to dinner at a small French restaurant they both loved. He had reserved a private room, candlelit and intimate. They toasted their engagement with expensive wine and talked about their future. When do you want to get married? Julian asked. I don't need a big wedding. Something small, just close friends. That sounds perfect. What about timing? After the international campaign is fully launched. Maybe next spring? Spring works. We could have the ceremony at my parents' estate upstate. It's been sitting empty for years. I think they would have liked that. Nadia reached across the table and squeezed his hand. Tell me about them. Julian's expression grew distant. My mother was a teacher, my father was an engineer. They were simple people, hardworking and kind. They saved for years to send me to college. When they died, I felt like I had lost my foundation. Building Pierce Industries became my way of honoring them, creating something lasting. They would be so proud of you. I hope so. I also think they would have loved you. My mother always said I needed someone who wouldn't let me get too serious, someone who would remind me to enjoy life. You do that for me. And you remind me that I'm capable of more than I ever thought possible. They finished dinner and walked through the city streets hand in hand. Nadia felt complete in a way she never had before. This was partnership. This was love. Not the desperate need for validation she had with Trevor, but a solid foundation built on mutual respect and genuine affection. I have something else for you, Julian said when they returned to the penthouse. He handed her a folder. Inside were documents showing that Julian had created a trust fund in both their names, equal partners in managing his wealth. It was a gesture of complete trust and commitment. Julian, this is too much. It's exactly right. We're building a life together. Everything I have, I want to share with you. Nadia kissed him, pouring all her love and gratitude into it. They made their way to the bedroom, and for the first time, Nadia felt no ghosts from her past haunting her. Just the present moment with the man she loved. Later, lying in Julian's arms, Nadia thought about the journey that had brought her here. The pain of discovering Trevor's betrayal, the courage it took to leave, the fear of starting over. All of it had led to this moment, to this man, to this life. What are you thinking about? Julian asked, running his fingers through her hair. How grateful I am. For all of it, even the hard parts. If Trevor hadn't cheated, I never would have left. I never would have met you. I'm grateful too. Though I wish you hadn't had to go through that pain. It made me stronger. It taught me what I deserve and what I won't accept. Those were valuable lessons. Julian kissed her forehead. You deserve everything good, Nadia. And I'm going to spend the rest of my life making sure you have it. You already do. They fell asleep tangled together, both of them finally having found what they had been searching for. Not just love but partnership. Not just passion but respect. Not just happiness but peace. 6 months later, Nadia stood in front of a full-length mirror, adjusting her wedding dress. It was simple but elegant, ivory silk that flowed to the floor. Her mother stood beside her, tears already forming in her eyes. You look beautiful, baby girl, her mother said. Don't make me cry. I just finished my makeup. I'm just so happy for you. After everything you went through with Trevor, I worried you'd never trust anyone again. But Julian is different. He sees you. He does. He really does. Rita knocked and entered, wearing a blue bridesmaid dress. The guests are all seated. Julian's pacing like crazy out there. I think he's nervous. Nadia laughed. Julian Pierce nervous? That's new. He told Robert he can negotiate billion-dollar deals without breaking a sweat, but the thought of marrying you has him terrified he'll mess something up. Nadia's heart swelled. Even after a year together, Julian could still surprise her with his vulnerability. The ceremony was held in the garden of Julian's parents' estate, under a canopy of spring flowers. There were only 30 guests, close friends and important colleagues. Nothing extravagant, just intimate and meaningful. When the music started, Nadia walked down the aisle on her father's arm. Julian stood at the altar in a black suit, his usually controlled expression showing clear emotion. When their eyes met, he smiled, that rare, full smile that transformed his face. The ceremony was short and sweet. They had written their own vows, wanting to speak their truth to each other in their own words. Julian went first. Nadia, a year and a half ago you walked into my office and changed my life. You taught me that success means nothing without someone to share it with. You showed me that being vulnerable isn't weakness, it's strength. You made me want to be more than just a cold businessman. You made me want to be a good man, a good partner, a good husband. I promise to support your dreams, celebrate your successes, and stand beside you through every challenge. I promise to see you always for exactly who you are. I love you. Nadia's turn. Julian, when I met you, I was broken. I didn't trust easily and I didn't believe in love anymore. But you were patient. You showed me what real partnership looks like. You celebrated my success instead of feeling threatened by it. You gave me space to grow while always being there when I needed you. You made me feel valued in a way I never had before. I promise to challenge you, support you, and love you exactly as you are. I promise to be your partner in every sense of the word. I love you. There wasn't a dry eye in the garden by the time they finished. The officiant pronounced them married, and Julian kissed his bride as everyone applauded. The reception was held in the estate's ballroom, elegant and intimate. Nadia and Julian had their first dance to a slow jazz song, moving together like they had been doing this for years. Happy? Julian asked, holding her close. Incredibly. You. More than I ever thought possible. Robert gave a toast that made everyone laugh, talking about how he had never seen Julian smile before Nadia came into his life. Rita gave a toast about how Nadia had taught her that success and kindness weren't mutually exclusive. Julian's business partners shared stories about how Nadia had softened their notoriously cold CEO. As the evening wore on, Nadia found a quiet moment alone on the terrace. She looked out at the garden, thinking about how far she had come. From the devastation of discovering Trevor's affair to this moment of pure joy, it had been a journey of growth and self-discovery. Julian joined her, wrapping his arms around her from behind. What are you thinking about? He asked. How different my life is now. How much better. No regrets. Not a single one. Everything I went through led me here to you. I wouldn't change any of it. They stood together, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of pink and gold. Nadia's phone buzzed in her clutch. She almost ignored it, but something made her check. It was a notification from her lawyer. Trevor's business had filed for bankruptcy. The notification was just informational, closing out the last legal connection between them. Nadia showed Julian the message. How do you feel? He asked. Nothing. I literally feel nothing. Trevor is a stranger to me now. She deleted the notification and turned back to her husband. This is my life now. You, my business, our future. That's all that matters. Julian kissed her softly. I love you, Mrs. Pierce. I love you too. They returned to the reception hand in hand. The party continued late into the night, full of laughter and joy. At one point, Nadia caught sight of herself in a mirror. She looked radiant, happy, alive. This was who she was meant to be. Not the woman who had bent herself to fit someone else's expectations, but the woman who knew her worth and refused to settle for less. Around midnight, Julian pulled her aside. I have one more surprise, he said, leading her outside to where a car waited. Where are we going? You'll see. The drive took 30 minutes, ending at a small private airport. A plane waited on the tarmac. Julian, what is this? We're going to Paris for our honeymoon. I know you've always wanted to go. Nadia felt tears spring to her eyes. How did you know that? You mentioned it once months ago. You said Trevor always promised to take you but never did. I wanted to give you that. They boarded the plane, settled into comfortable seats, and took off into the night sky. Nadia leaned against Julian's shoulder, feeling overwhelmingly grateful for this second chance at love, at life, at happiness. Thank you, she whispered. For everything. Thank you for choosing me, Julian replied. For trusting me with your heart after someone broke it. You've earned that trust 1,000 times over. As the plane carried them toward Paris, toward their future, Nadia thought about the past year and a half. She had left Trevor with nothing but divorce papers and her dignity. She had rebuilt her life from scratch. She had started a successful business. She had found genuine love with a man who valued her. She had created exactly the life she wanted. Meanwhile, Trevor was alone, bankrupt, and struggling. Part of her felt vindicated. Not because she enjoyed his suffering, but because it proved that actions have consequences. He had thrown away a good woman for a temporary thrill, and now he had nothing. But Nadia wasn't focused on Trevor's failures. She was focused on her own success, on the incredible life she had built. That was the best revenge, she realized. Not making him suffer, but becoming so successful and happy that he became irrelevant to her story. Julian squeezed her hand. What are you smiling about? Just thinking about how perfect everything turned out. It's not perfect. We'll have challenges, disagreements, hard times. I know. But we'll face them together as partners. That's what makes it perfect. Julian kissed her temple. Get some sleep. Paris awaits. Nadia closed her eyes, feeling the steady rhythm of Julian's breathing beside her. She thought about her wedding vows, about the promises they had made to each other. To support, to challenge, to love. She meant every word. Her phone buzzed one last time. A text from an unknown number. I saw the wedding announcement in the paper. Congratulations. You deserve to be happy. I'm sorry I couldn't give you that. Trevor. Nadia read the message, then blocked the number without responding. She didn't need closure from Trevor. She had already closed that chapter herself. She settled back against Julian, ready for whatever came next. The plane climbed higher into the night sky, carrying them toward their new beginning. Behind them lay pain and betrayal. Ahead lay possibility and hope. Nadia had been hurt, but she hadn't let it break her. She had been betrayed, but she hadn't let it make her bitter. She had been undervalued, but she had learned her worth. And now she had everything she had ever wanted. A successful career, a loving partner, and a future full of promise. She smiled in the darkness, thinking about the woman she had become. Strong, independent, confident, loved. This was her happy ending, but it was also her new beginning. And she couldn't wait to see what came next.